Trombetti is here for you, and it starts right now.
Time for another round of dating in the DMV, and today we're helping expose some of the biggest but less obvious red flags to keep in mind when you meet somebody new.
It's easy to view things with rose-colored glasses. So here to take off your blinders is relationship expert and matchmaker, our good friend, Susan Trombetti. Susan, good to have you back.
Good morning.
Oh, Susan, when you come, you're so sweet and kind, but you just drop some
Oh, she always does. It's like, don't get it
Sorry
twisted.
to spoil the fun.
But that's the whole thing, though, because we hear about red flags, but they don't always look red at first. Sometimes they're
Right.
light pink. You know, how can you tell the difference?
Exactly. Well, there's some that are, I mean, to me, they're obvious, but, I see the relationships play out. So the first one I would say is lack of trust. And we've all experienced this, right? And this is why you're going crazy going through somebody's phone, right? If you feel it in your gut, this is a red flag, lack of trust. You can't build a relationship on it. Kick them to the curb.
If you don't feel safe, you should probably, and trust is so fragile. It's a tough thing to build and rebuild after it's broken.
Build, sustain.
Yeah.
So you got to kick them to the curb.
You do.
And the next one, and I mean, people don't think about this. They say it, but they don't really think it when they're in it. Lack of communication.
Yes.
This is another thing, and this one isn't so devastating because that's a skill set that you can improve on. And you need this to sustain and build a relationship. Good communication. So there's always hope that you can improve on that.
Yeah, and you write extensively about communication styles, right? How important is it to learn your communication style so that you're able to learn someone else's communication style?
Well, that takes me down to the love language thing. But I mean, I think, look, it's basic. No passive aggressiveness, directness, and don't hurt somebody's feelings. That's not an excuse to be really telling it like it is and hurt somebody's feelings.
But
I mean,
also,
communication skills, go to a therapist to improve them if you need it.
But the mode of communication too, because I think now with texting and online, there's so many ways to communicate, but if they're not communicating you in a way that you like, it's a red flag. Maybe not they're the red flag, but the situation could be.
Right. I mean, to me, communication is direct. We're talking. It's verbal, right?
Is it always verbal, or is it?
Well, communication to sustain a relationship, because let's face it, texts, emails, they can be taken out of context.
But even when somebody doesn't text you, that's also communication, right?
Right. A lack of communication. A red flag once
again.
You also say watch out for narcissism and gaslighting.
Right.
We know this, Susan, but how do those things show up in ways that we may not notice them at first? That's
okay,
the thing.
so you might not realize that you're with a narcissist at first, and you might be gaslit by somebody, but they're not a narcissist,
What is
right?
a narcissist?
A narcissist, that's kind of like somebody that's all about them, and they're very destructive force in a relationship. And it is, I believe it's in the DSM. I'm not, a therapist, but it's a serious illness. And you know it because they're going to gaslight you, and they're going to be doing things to you and tell you it's you're the problem, and that's the gaslighting. And it's a terrible. I don't want to say disease, but a terrible relationship to be in with a narcissist. And they're going to gaslight you, and it's all about them. They care nothing about anyone else but themselves and how they can make themselves look better. So they're going to gaslight you. It's never their fault.
This is tough because this next one that you're going to mention is tough. Substance abuse, people who are dealing with addiction. It's a tough topic because people are in recovery. Sometimes people relapse. It's always challenging because I feel like people still deserve to be loved even if they're going through tough times. But you're saying that's a red flag.
It is a red flag. And I'm also going to tell you that's one of the top 5 people you should run away from, all right?
Wow.
And that is if they are not handling this issue. Because I'm not going to, you're right, people have issues. Everyone has issues, and they deserve to be loved. But when they have a substance abuse issue, they can only focus on themselves and that issue and that addiction, not on you and the relationship. So unfortunately, you have to cut it if they don't get help. And God forbid you hitch your wagon to somebody like that and you have children with them and you have those sorts. It's really sad. So that is a big red flag. And so, I mean, some people imbibe too much. Occasionally it happens. But somebody that consistently has a problem is a problem and a red flag.
It can start with one and then a ripple effect. Thank you for joining us, Susan, on this. I know we're going to talk about green flags next week. It's important, too. There are good things out there that you want to make sure you're watching. But, Susan, you always bring it. I don't have to tell you that.
Oh, thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Yes. All right.
What if you just want a flag? What if there are no flags? Is that a red flag?
What about the white flag? I'm done with it all. I need a white flag. I'm surrendering to the dating game.
There's some green flags.
All right,
How about green flag? You feel comfortable.
All right.